This video is not for you if you are a tribal bigot, you are too religious, you are tribalistic. In fact, you are too quick to zage mutum, that is quick to post person. This video is for rational thinking Africans and Nigerians who will understand the things I'm going to talk about. This video is going to be long, put your mind there, but I am not going to tell you rubbish. This video I start now, it might pain you. The things I'm going to talk, it might pain you, it might go deep into your mind. But the thing is this: everything I'm going to tell you here, they are facts and nothing but facts. Do you remember when recently I did a video and I talked about how that if we are going to be here and thinking that Nigeria and Africa, West Africa is going to just develop overnight, that we are deceiving ourselves? We have been programmed not to be developed. There are evidences and facts to prove this. Some of those evidences and facts I have, taken time to gather them to show you people so that you will understand the things I have been talking about. These are the kind of things that does not go viral. This is the kind of content they don't share. This is the type they don't want people to see. As a matter of fact, if you too much, they will now ask you to delete it, or they will ask the app owner to delete that content. They do that a lot. Sometimes you go and look for some of my video, see them, they don't delete them. You don't know what's in the happen. But just in case this finds you well, my name is Serikin Daria. I am an historian by profession and comedian by unemployment. No be what I plan to do be this. So, somebody sent me this video. I took my time to understudy the video to see whether it was doctored or it was real. Then I watched this video. See the video. Listen to this person talking in case you don't understand.
Sub-Saharan Africa has been fundamental to the global prosperity of the advanced countries, and Africa had a role to play. It has a role as a raw material producer. We will not allow Sub-Saharan Africa to escape that. Okay, we do everything to keep Sub-Saharan Africa where it is, also impoverished. It's absolutely vital for the prosperity of everyone else. So let's get clear about that. Okay, and this means all the economic structures, all the global institutions, and the economics we teach everyone is all designed to keep Africa exactly where it is. And whether it is Europe or US or now China, it's always the same. We need Africa to be impoverished because we need those raw materials and we need them dirt cheap. Okay, so that's the message. It doesn't mean to say that there's nothing Africans can do. Of course there is. This is what it's about. Because if Africa does do something different, I assure you living standards of all those in Europe and North America and Asia is going to fall. Okay? And that is a big price to pay. I assure you that the West is not going to allow that without a big fight. Okay, so the job of many Western academics is to convince Africans they have to keep doing what they're doing. Okay, and to show them it's your fault that you're poor. It's not our fault. It's your fault that you're poor. So this is what we do in academic institutions. We know the basic forces that have caused this underdevelopment. We know it's colonization. We cannot afford to allow Africa to industrialize and start producing manufactures. Okay, so we will do everything to stop that. And I'm going to show you how we actually block that. We had East Asian rapid industrialization processes. So in the earlier period, we had Japan and Korea and Taiwan. Okay, rapid growth, sucking in raw materials from Africa, driving up the prices. After those countries finished industrialization, then Sub-Saharan African growth rate again fell. Sub-Saharan Africa is condemned to this role, just the supplier of raw materials, not a manufacturer. The currencies are collapsing of these countries, and many of them are Sub-Saharan African countries. After colonization ended, we needed new structures to keep these countries where they were. Okay? And the first of those is aid. Okay, we give them aid. Aid for what? Actually, we give them aid to keep repressive regimes in power. That's all. All the hypocrisy about transparency and democracy and bullshit like that, it's all bullshit. But it would go to country after country offering loans. And if the president did not accept the loan, they were killed. It's just economics. It's economic warfare. The rich declare war on the poor. It happens everywhere. It happens in a country. The rich control the government. Of course they do. You really believe you have democracy? Come on. I mean, go up. Who has all the subsidies and income support? US, Europe. The largest budgets in the world for supporting their farmers are Europe and US. You see, we're keeping them dependent. We're keeping them on a string. This next round of the WTO is designed to block that. To block anyone else getting on top of the ladder.
Now, you don't watch this video. This man here you are saying, as a matter of fact, if this man you are seeing in this video is too old, he will not be more than 60 years. Nigeria, for the most I know, is more than 60 years of independence. It means that at the time that the global imperialists and the first world country were looking for where to gain mineral resources and raw materials to keep their people and nations going, this human being was not given birth to. But do you know why? This human being is teaching their next generation. He's talking to their students that this is the plan on ground. This is the doctrine on ground and must be continually serviced if our nation must be, if our country, if we must continually survive as a people. We must impoverish Africans. We must always make sure that any of their leaders who do not want to conform with this our doctrine, we will fight them. You heard what he said. He said any of the leaders who refuse to collect the loans that they are offering them, that leader is going to be quiet. You see, every time I come outside to say they are borrow again, it is against the will of our leaders, but they do not have options. Now by force, so you must collect them. If not, you go quiet. You see that though slave trade might have ended, it is still very, very much alive. It is still existing. Because these nations will look and think that they are our Messiah. Each time anything happens and we stand up to our cause to want to repel the evil governance, the things we are seeing that are not okay by us electorates. We will not be saying, for instance, maybe we are protesting against maybe police brutality, against bad governance, against hike in fuel price, against things we have that we cannot get easily as citizens. And maybe the police start to disperse us with tear gas or even shoot as citizens, for instance, or the military want to push us away. We will not be doing video. We are saying the world is watching. They are doing. I continually tell you that nobody is watching. The only people that are watching are the ones sitting down that are doing nothing about it. Do you know that I can as well follow the bandwagon of those doing the regular kind of comedy, and me too, maybe I buy Benz, I post, and then bloggers will write, where una they see this money from? But listen to me, where una they see this money from is not the problem. You pay the see the money, buy a car, buy a house, but if the country is not safe, those who cannot find it will not only come for your car and house, they will come after your life. You see, I used to tell somebody that the Nigerians that I know, we as a people that I have understood as an historian, whether you are Hausa, whether you are Fulani, whether you are Yoruba, whether you are Igbo, you are Tiv, you are Edo, you are Igala, or you are Tiv, you are Idoma, any language, or Nagbagi, or any language we be, Ghana, just mention it. We are a people that by default we are born to have compassion on a fellow human being. That is how we are designed as Africans, by extension. But do you know that this imperialist country will sponsor a faction of us to begin to cause chaos among us? They want to sell a belief we do not conform with. And if we say no, it becomes a problem. Do you think that a normal Nigerian, whether he is Hausa, he is Fulani, he's from Kanuri, is any language, is Igbo, is Yoruba, is mention the tribe, we stand up and say he wants to carry Chakakula. He wants to carry any weapon that can fight people in mass. People he has lived with as kids. People he has grown up with. One day he will just decide to just buy everybody. All in the name of one belief. Listen to me. They look for a way to sell this belief to a faction of us. They employ religion. They employ ethnicity. They employ tribalism. What do? They sponsor everything that has happened in this country as war. Any fight where you don't see happen for naija is sponsored by these people. You don't hear them from their mouth. Social media is a big place. There's small thing, evidence where you keep like this. If you leak, we don't get the info. I am only sending this as a signal to our leaders to be wise. Somebody came out on the other day on Al Jazeera to give one revelation, and nobody is raising eyebrow. Nobody is talking about it. Watch this video of this man talking about who is sponsoring all this terrorism. I do not want to mention any terrorist outfit in him because me too I get family. But watch this man. You know the other day I started Okubo come aside. He said just as he has his own private military that can be hired to do any work, that is how it also exists in any part of the world. That is absolutely correct. Though you might not like some of the way the approaches he uses or something, but that thing he said is actually correct. This man you are going to see in this video is one of the private military firm that was sponsored, I don't know which country he's from, to come and combat the terrorist group that abducted the Chibok girls. They came, they were on that. In fact, I need you to watch him talk for himself firsthand. He said he no be understand what thing happened. It was later he now discovered that the chaos and the abduction was sponsored by another nation who wants to continually get mineral resources from that region, and nobody is talking. I told you earlier, this video go long small. Look at this. Just like the other man talk. I need you to watch this space before I continue.
Would you walk us through the Boko Haram offensive?
Boko Haram offensive was really not part of executive outcomes. That was STEP International that actually partook in that offensive. I need to first of all make it very clear that we were a subcontractor. There was a prime contractor appointed that appointed us as a subcontractor. Our initial aim was not Boko Haram per se, but it was to rescue the Chibok girls. They were the girls that had been kidnapped, and where the Western response was #SaveTheGirls. That type of nonsense does not save girls. Unfortunately, these girls became victims of a situation where the security had broken down in a specific area. They were kidnapped, and that was the first mission. Rescue the Chibok girls. We then did a selection process of the Nigerian soldiers. The soldiers were retained after the selection process, were then trained in a very specific way to conduct a hostage rescue operation. And that requires a very specific type of person. However, approximately 5 or 6 weeks into the training of the hostage rescue team, we were asked to change our mission. And that mission was to go to a town called Maiduguri in northeast Nigeria that had come under severe threat of Boko Haram. We then rapidly had to transition what we were doing and suddenly train a very offensive force with a minimum of equipment, and we rushed to Maiduguri. We met with the 7th Infantry Division commander. We finally understood the pressures he was under, and our suggestion was to him that this force we had trained, which we named the 72nd Mobile Strike Force, would actually spearhead the division. And that is precisely what we did. The operation was in 3 phases. The first phase was to actually cut a dividing line across northeastern Nigeria and isolate Boko Haram into 2 defined areas, and then mop up one area in the south was the start, and after that was done, mop up in the north. The division would follow behind, occupy terrain. We would train the division in situ in defensive positions, etc. But we were never allowed to execute the entire operation. So in 1 month, we took back terrain larger than Belgium from Boko Haram. We were not allowed to finish because it came at a time when governments were in the process of changing. I think President Jonathan's government possibly saw the entire Boko Haram contract, if we call it that, almost as a last gasp in order to regain popularity. The incoming president, President Buhari, was heavily supported by a foreign government, and one of the first missions was to terminate our contract.
Could you name that foreign government?
Yes, we were told it was the United States, and they had actually funded President Buhari's campaign. The campaign manager for President Buhari came from the US. And I'm not saying that the United States is bad. I understand foreign interests, but I would have thought that a threat such as Boko Haram on the integrity of the state of Nigeria ought to be actually a priority. It wasn't.
Why do you think the US would intervene to abort such operation?
Again, I can't answer that. I think that the US can answer, but what I've come to realize, that is when a government's foreign interests clash with the state's own domestic interests, conflict is bound to ensue. And those conflicts usually just continue with no end. And we can look at all the conflicts in Africa where foreign forces have come in, they've prolonged those conflicts, they haven't ended those conflicts. And the amount of money and manpower and equipment thrown at those conflicts says to me that something is wrong if no end result is achieved. And surely that end result should be to end the conflict and establish a basis for negotiations, come to an agreement, and then re-establish governance. But that's not what's happening in Africa.
Okay, you have watched this man. You see, just like the other man made that revelation in the other first video you watch. Any leader that refuses to collect loan, they pay him. And they make sure that the little they have made rich will continually to rule the majority of the poor. And whatever they dictate is what the poor must follow, because these rich ones are in charge of the machinery of the state, namely the military, the police, the resources, and whatever. And remember, after God now government, you can only talk, you cannot fight government. If government, see, you can have money, but who get power pass who get money. Power comes before money. So what these people do is that once they have the money, they sought to have the power so that they can control the money. That is why you see they will do anything possible to enter Senate, to become reps, to become this, so that they can send prayers to their lawyer boxes. They will say it to our face and nothing will happen. They share this money in unbelievable figures. For instance, look at this. Just listen to this. Is this not so unbelievable? A country that is owing so much debt, a country that is suffering this so much. Look at what people who were voted for, or who we did not vote for and force themselves into power. Look at what they are doing to a state that calls himself the giant of Africa. Look at this.
The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project over the weekend filed a lawsuit against Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas over the plan to spend 40 billion naira on 465 exotic and bulletproof cars for members and principal officers of the Senate, as well as 70 billion naira as palliatives for new members. The suit is coming on the heels of Godswill Akpabio's statement, in which he revealed that the clerk of the National Assembly had sent holiday allowances into the various bank accounts of senators. Serap is seeking an order to restrain Akpabio and Abbas from demanding or receiving the 40 billion naira on exotic cars and other exorbitant expenses until an assessment of the socio-economic impact of the spending on millions of poor Nigerians is carried out in the interest of the public, among other requests.
You see, I shake my head. Do you know that? There is a reason why for some time I will just stay and decide not to talk or do anything. Nothing that interests me. Because some of the information I am privy to as an historian, if I want to talk and from the way they pay me, it will cause problem. You see, this is the reason why this same imperialist nation and this so-called first world country we think are looking out for us, are sponsoring agendas, are creating educational system that will not grow us as a people. Who designed the system of education 633 or 634? Who designed it? It was an idea sold to us and we believed it. The all of us must go to school and must speak English. So if I come to you and I speak in this tongue, somebody will say I am an illiterate. Are you not understanding it? Meanwhile, the Oyibo man who has sold this idea to you will go to their own university and study your local language so that they can come here and exploit you. It's not a big deal. We are so fluent in English but backward in understanding the reality of life. Who tell you that Nigeria cannot be a state of El Dorado where everything works? Who tell you that Nigeria cannot be law abiding and keep to order? Who tell you that Nigeria cannot work? It's quite unfortunate that those who have tried to open the eyes of Africans, this imperialist nation will go after them and make sure that they quiet them. Now them can sell system to us say we must have presidency that will just be 4 years. Me and you know that this system of governance they have introduced to us will always be like this. When space enter power, you go need first 6 months to face the fight in opponents. Then the first 1 year, when you say you want start to the work, you go face the check who you want come up for power, who offend them. The second year, you go come they do budget, you go come they plan how to save money for the next election. So you now discover that everyone that comes to power is worse than the former. You now discover that what every government now does in every African state is this. As this government come, it will blame the other one for leaving bad governance. A governance he too was part of the cabinet. That is how the system has been designed. The imperialists sponsor election to put people there they can control against the will of the people and electorate. See all this revelation by element of imperialist states and nations. You think colonialism is gone? Now it just start. They can never. He said they can never afford those to be developed. Do you know how many industrial moves we have made as a people? Do you know how many steel companies we have in this country that is not working, that were as a matter of fact established about the same day with some steel companies in other nations? Ajakuta Steel Company is an example. I keep mentioning it. Delta Steel Company is there. Just mention all of them. We brag about having made the Nigerian cars. Listen to me, what we do here is assembling. We don't create the resources them. We don't even create it ourselves. They just bring the parts and assemble them. If we start to create the parts, we're not going to complain, say job no day. What do you they talk? Say we they create the parts for here. A company like Innocent will be able to employ over 1 million people. No cap. But they will never let it happen. They will call the government in power that they themselves sponsored into power to tell him, you must not let this happen. If not, you go collect. I tell you, there is nothing like terrorism happening in Nigeria. It is a clear sponsored act. My name is Serikin Daria. I am an historian by profession, a comedian by unemployment. My own little observation: Nigeria can get better. If we are standing for a cause, let's stand for it, and let's stop thinking that these other nations have us in mind. Nobody has us in mind. And remember, to our leaders who will be privileged to watch this, now privilege for you to watch me because I'm too expensive. Did you understand? Don't think you are burning your data to watch me. If you are privileged to see this, whether you are a governor, a senator, house of rep member, chairman, or anything, let me tell you, the local government, the state, the country, you are failing to create as an enable environment. You are failing to develop. The country, the state, the local government, the community, you are failing to develop for the betterment of the people. Just know that you are developing cannibalism in the waiting. As you know, develop system where you feed them, they will feed on you, where be the system.